It is a face charged with memories of a keen and various life passed below there on the banks of the gleaming river. And as he looks at the scene before him, the sense of familiarity is so much stronger than the perception of change that he thinks it might be possible to descend once more amongst the streets and take up that busy life where he left it. For it is not only the mountains and the westward bending river that he recognizes, not only the dark sides of Mount Morello opposite to him, and the long valley of the Arno that seems to stretch its grey, low-tufted luxuriance to the far-off ridges of Carrara, and the steep height of Fiesole, with its crown of monastic walls and cypresses, and all the green and grey slopes sprinkled with villas which he can name as he looks at them. He sees other familiar objects much closer to his daily walks. For though he misses the 70 or more towers that once surmounted the walls and encircled the city as with a regal diadem, his eyes will not dwell on that blank. They are drawn irresistibly to the unique tower springing like a tall flower stem drawn towards the sun, from the square turreted mass of the old palace in the very heart of the city. The tower that looks none the worse for the 4 centuries that have passed since he used to walk under it. The great dome, too, greatest in the world, which, in his early boyhood, had been only a daring thought in the mind of a small, quick-eyed man. There it raises its large curves still, eclipsing the hills. And the well-known bell towers, Giotto's, with its distant hint of rich colour, and the graceful spired Badia, and the rest. He looked at them all from the shoulder of his nurse. Surely, he thinks, Florence can still ring her bells with the solemn hammer sound that used to beat on the hearts of her citizens and strike out the fire there. And here, on the right, stands the long dark mass of Santa Croce, where we buried our famous dead, laying the laurel on their cold brows and fanning them with the breath of praise and of banners. But Santa Croce had no spire then. We Florentines were too full of great building projects to carry them all out in stone and marble. We had our frescoes and our shrines to pay for, not to speak of rapacious condottieri, bribed royalty, and purchased territories, and our facades and spires must needs wait. But what architect can the frati minori have employed to build that spire for them? If it had been built in my day, Filippo Brunelleschi or Michelozzo would have devised something of another fashion than that, something worthy to crown the church of Arnolfo. At this the spirit, with a sigh, lets his eyes travel on to the city walls, and now he dwells on the change there with wonder at these modern times. Why have 5 out of the 11 convenient gates been closed? And why, above all, should the towers have been levelled that were once a glory and defence? Is the world become so peaceful then? And do Florentines dwell in such harmony that there are no longer conspiracies to bring ambitious exiles home again with armed bands at their back? These are difficult questions. It is easier and pleasanter to recognize the old than to account for the new. And there flows Arno, with its bridges just where they used to be. The Ponte Vecchio, least like other bridges in the world, laden with the same quaint shops where our spirit remembers lingering a little on his way perhaps to look at the progress of that great palace which Messer Luca Pitti had set a-building with huge stones got from the hill of Bogoli close behind. Or perhaps to transact a little business with the cloth-dressers in Oltrarno. The exorbitant line of the Pitti roof is hidden from San Miniato. But the yearning of the old Florentine is not to see Messer Luca's too ambitious palace, which he built unto himself. It is to be down among those narrow streets and busy, humming piazze, where he inherited the eager life of his fathers. Is not the anxious voting with black and white beans still going on down there? Who are the priori in these months, eating soberly regulated official dinners in the Palazzo Vecchio, with removes of tripe and boiled partridges, seasoned by practical jokes against the ill-fated butt among those potent signors? Are not the significant banners still hung from the windows, still distributed with decent pomp under Orgagna's loggia every 2 months? Life had its zest for the old Florentine when he, too, trod the marble steps and shared in those dignities.